Welcome to Three Nice Things, the podcast that has decided we've been so mean to these movies, it's time to say three nice things. Even Nick. You can find more about this show on others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com. Other shows on the network include Is It Classic, Does It Rock, where we pick a band or artist and go through their discography, album by album, track by track. There's Previously on X-Men, where we look back on comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. X-Men comics, characters. I didn't say that.
I got it. We got it.
Radio 64, video game music remix radio, and...
Can I do the last one?
Yeah.
9021 Here We Go, a 90210 rewatch podcast hosted by me and Kendra Mickles.
Share your thoughts on this and upcoming movies by following us on Facebook or Twitter at Nice Things Pod, and please rate, subscribe, and share the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Today, we are talking about the 1996 film, The Island of Doctor Moreau. I'm Eric Mickles, also known online as duskvstweak, and with me is Nick Gunning.
Here under duress.
Co-host of the All the Book Show.
Yes.
And 90210... Or 9021, Here We Go.
You got it the second time.
There we go, the 902 Rewatch Podcast.
Yeah.
We're
in season 2 right now. We're really cooking. Starting to get serialized.
Yeah.
Good times are happening.
Also with me is Marius, also known as Enville Games.
Hello.
Did I pronounce your name right this time? I feel like every time I do it, I'm getting it wrong.
I think you're getting closer. That was pretty good, actually.
Okay.
It's a sliding scale.
Yeah, all right. So about this movie, The Island of Doctor Moreau is a modern,
okay.
as of 1996.
Even by 96 standards, so is it modern?
It's a modern adaptation of the H.G. Wells story of the same name, and it had a budget that slowly rose to $40 million, possibly $70 million. I can't find the confirmation where somebody's like, yes, it was $70 million. It was definitely $40 million.
Wow.
And in 96, I always use The Lost World as comparison, but that was $65 million in 1997. So if your movie can't look as good as The Lost World, upon release, it earned a total of about $50 million worldwide, which doesn't seem worth all the trouble that went into the production when we get into that.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, there was some trouble, wasn't there?
There was some trouble, yeah.
Where Eric reads some history about the production.
Yeah,
goes,
and when you make 10 million more than what your budget was, it's was it worth really working with Val Kilmer and Brad on this?
That's the thing. I mean, you have two certifiably insane egomaniacs.
Yeah.
In a movie together, why you don't predict that there's going to be problems?
So at the time of recording this,
was Katherine Heigl busy?
Well, in 1996.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair
I think
enough.
she was probably going to the
fair enough.
Katherine Heigl asking her parents to take her to see Island of Dr. Moreau. What's that bit I'm trying to do? So at the time of recording, this has a critic score of 24% on Rotten Tomato and an audience score of 20%.
I take issue with that.
I should someday go through and look at all the ones we've done and rank them by the Rotten Tomato score to see what's the worst film we've done. I think it's Son of the Mask.
Maybe. This is right up there. This is among the worst movies I've ever seen, I think.
Did I already say the audience score was 20%
Yes, you did.
So this is a weird... Yes, it's pretty even here.
Here's the weird part. I'm looking... Because I was Googling it, and it shows the results, and it also lists the 4.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which is, below average.
Yeah, just a bit.
Means awful. But it says 72% like this film.
Yeah.
From Google users.
Yeah, strange.
72% of what?
That just shows how few people rate movies on
apparently, yeah, that must be. Only the real zealots for this movie went out. Rate it high.
Marius.
Thumbs up. It didn't go up. It's still 70.
Were you or have you been familiar with the H.G. Wells book? I mean, it's more of a short story, but it's one of his longer ones. Yeah.
I have not read it.
Okay.
Now I want to.
Well, I mean, I'll say that the book is definitely better. Mm-hmm. I mean, I as is my tradition, whenever I do one of these podcasts with you, I read the book ahead of time. So I did read the H.G. Wells book. Yeah.
Was it the movie cover, though? That would have made it.
No, I actually found LibriVox does these audiobooks of public domain works this. So I actually listened to this in audiobook format, and it was really cool. And it is free, so you can find it out there.
Yeah, so it wasn't read by David Thewlis.
It was, each chapter was narrated by a different person, but
what?
Yeah, but actually for the style of book, I thought that worked really well. So I had a good time listening to the book. It was it's an unsettling story.
Yeah.
And made much more unsettling by this movie, but worth a read, I would say.
I read this in college, like, on my own volition. Like, it wasn't an assignment or anything.
Yeah.
I have a big, like, hardcover, like, the best of H.G. Wells or the science fiction of H.G. Wells. And I had already, like, as a kid, I read, like, the junior illustration of War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
And that creeped me
sure.
out as a kid.
Yeah.
And so as an adult, I went back and I read Time Machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read Island of Doctor Moreau. And I really liked Island of Doctor Moreau. And this probably has to do a little bit with the Batman animated series episode, Tiger,
I see.
where Batman has to go rescue Catwoman from an island and from a scientist that's doing this one. And then it becomes like the most dangerous game because that Panther guy is chasing after Batman.
Scary.
That's a pretty good episode. Really well animated too. So anyways.
Everything I've read by H.G. Wells has kind of an unsettling undertone. Yeah. Even something like The Time Machine, which it's a pretty straightforward kind of story. Yeah. It still ends in an unsettling place. You know, so he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. The summary of the movie will include a spoiler warning, so if you haven't read the book or you haven't seen the movie and you want to, we are going to spoil it. But basically, Island of Dr. Moreau, but set in 1996 or 95, whenever filming actually started. Like a modern take, it's the Island of Dr. Moreau, but with Humvees and 1996 technology.
Sure.
David Thewlis, who is a UN negotiator, he works for the UN. He's a plane crashes.
Like
he's
peacemaker, I think they call him. Yeah, negotiators.
Which you think would play into the movie in some way, but it never does it actually become important.
Well, I think his negotiating skills kind of do, though.
Okay.
I think he kind of brokers a peace in a way, but we'll get there.
He's found on a raft by Val Kilmer, who's playing Montgomery, who is the assistant of Dr. Moreau.
Yes.
And so they bring him there. Dr. Moreau is experimenting with animals. He's turning animals into people-like animals.
And we discover this in a very upsetting way.
Yes, we do. With like a horse woman giving live birth to another type of animal birth.
Yeah. And the horsewoman's is like the doctors delivering the horsewoman's are also like
animal creatures,
animal men, people. It was very unsettling right from the get-go.
Dr. Moreau has he calls them sons and daughters. He has 3 sons, which are like dogmen.
Yeah.
And then he has a daughter who is like a cat person, who's played by, whose name I can't pronounce.
Fairuza Balk.
Fairuza Balk, yes. So she's playing like this, she looks human, but she's regressing into a cat person.
Well, she looks like Fairuza Balk anyway.
Yeah.
She does. If it's 1996 and you're going to have someone play a cat,
she's the one you want.
And we find out David Thewlis was brought there.
Yeah.
Because they want to regress, they want to stop the regression. But eventually,
Edward Douglas is his character.
Edward Douglas, yeah. What we find out is Moreau is controlling his creatures with like chips inside them, and he has a little device that causes great pain to them. But then one of the
running his own Suicide Squad, you might say.
Yeah. one of the creatures figures it out, takes it out, and then he starts a rebellion, and things get nutty.
They do.
At the end.
Oh, things get nutty. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they get a little weird towards the end.
Yes.
Nick, you've never seen this movie until we watched it last night.
That's true.
Were you familiar with it? Because you like Kilmer. You like Val Kilmer.
I do.
And 90s Val Kilmer,
I do. You know, I think I used to work in a college library and we had this movie there. And I would occasionally like put it on a display or something. It's based on a book, you know. Right. But no, I never actually sat down and watched it. I'd heard that it was terrible.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, its reputation as being like an absolute like crap show in terms of production. It looms large in the Hollywood circles.
The only thing that makes sense to me about those budgets would just be salaries because you don't see it on the screen. You really don't.
This was one I knew of and like I'd see pictures of, but I've never seen it. But we talked about it with Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Because there's speculation that Kilmer didn't play Batman again in Batman and Robin because of both The Saint and this movie.
Yeah.
So,
which, for the record, I really like The Saint.
Yeah.
I like the old Roger Moore show, and I like the Val Kilmer movie.
Right.
That's all. Just telling you.
So if he didn't do Batman and Robin for The Saint, sure.
Yeah.
But if he didn't do Batman and Robin for Island of Doctor Moreau,
then it's a real mistake.
Yeah. It's not even a lateral move at that point, is it?
Yeah, that's true.
He wanted to work as little as possible.
We'll get into that.
I think that's usually his
goal. When did you see this? Was this in theaters? Was this on tape?
I believe I saw this probably on VHS.
Okay.
The only appropriate way to see it.
Really. Probably around the time it came out, you know. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, probably then like early 97.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. How old were you then in 97 and when this comes out?
Almost 20.
Okay, so
I would have been 19 at the time.
All right. So you were a grown-up who was like watching this willingly.
Well, Yeah, I was watching it willingly. I
Right.
mean, I had rented it with at least one friend. I don't remember if there were more of us. We're
And-
like, this looks interesting. It's Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, and it's got weird stuff.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Watching it then, what was your response, or what effect did it have on you in early '97 on VHS?
I remember now. I remember thinking it was weird.
Yep.
But I also remember I liked it.
Yeah.
Because it was weird.
The 90s, especially like bad 90s movies, have such like a specific feel that you can't recreate like today. It's like you watch something like this, and it just is so of its time.
Yeah.
Like it looks 90s, it feels 90s. There's a song by Salt in there during like a really trippy scene. It's just you can't recreate that stuff.
This is the green ketchup of movies. Wouldn't you say?
Have you rewatched it since, or was this the first time you've rewatched it since that VHS?
I think this is the first time I've seen it.
Good call.
Okay.
Smart move.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some actors who dodged the bullet with Island of Doctor Moreau. Bruce Willis was originally cast as the film's protagonist.
Wow.
He had a different name besides, what was it, Edwards what?
Edward Douglas.
Yeah, it had a different name, but Bruce Willis was going to play the Edward Douglas role.
Boy, that would have changed everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been interesting.
Yeah, 90s Bruce Willis, too, where you can kind of think that he was still, like, really giving it his all.
Yeah,
so, like,
not Cop-Out Bruce Willis.
No, probably,
Die Hard era.
Die Hard 3 and the space one. Why can't I remember? It's great.
Armageddon?
No, the good space one.
Fifth Element?
Fifth Element, yeah.
Okay.
We're talking, like, Fifth Element Bruce Willis. So, like, who's taking chances. But allegedly, he dropped out due to his divorce with Demi Moore at the time.
Oh.
Even though that happened 2 years after. So, like, the common thing is that, it was the divorce, but then 2 years later it was announced and they separated, So
some good did come of that divorce then.
So the actor Rob Morrow, who I don't know, from Northern Exposure.
Oh, okay.
He was cast in the lead, but during filming, he begged to be released from the movie.
Wow.
When things were getting really bad. And so they let him. I saw one that said he begged. I saw another thing that said he called them up in tears to be released from this film.
I fully believe that. I don't doubt that story at all.
So James Woods was cast as Moreau's assistant, Montgomery.
Okay.
But when they cast Val Kilmer, they put him in the role, Montgomery.
And my understanding with that was that Val Kilmer didn't like Marius was saying, he didn't want to work that much.
He wanted 40%. He wanted to work 40% less than the lead role was going to require. So what they did is they just put him as Montgomery.
Right.
And so James Wood was replaced.
Yeah.
For a while, this movie was Rob Morrow as Douglas and Val Kilmer as Montgomery. Okay. And that's how the first half of the filming went. The film, as we said, is famous for its behind-the-scenes drama. The director, Richard Stanley, writer and director, he had to fight to stay in his role as director because New Line Cinemas didn't like him in this. They were trying to get Roman Polanski to do this movie. But Richard Stanley had an ally in Marlon Brando because Brando liked the director's vision. He liked how he talked about it relating to Heart of Darkness and his vision for the movie originally. And as it so happens, Richard Stanley was related to Henry Morton Stanley, who is one of the inspirations of the Apocalypse Now character Kurtz. That Brando
there you go.
played.
It all comes together.
And I saw some things saying that Brando was like, after all these years, he was still fascinated by that character. He was behind Stanley directing this movie. But tragedy struck, and Brando's daughter committed suicide, and the actor left to like seclude himself on his own private island. And this left Stanley without his main and possibly only ally at the time.
It was tragic, him retreating to an island.
Mm-hmm. Val Kilmer was a problem on the set. And I guess this is where like his reputation becoming problem on set was starting to build. Like Batman Forever and this, I think it was getting around. But he was a problem on set. He says supposedly due to his ongoing divorce at the time as well. So divorce plagued.
Right.
Maybe they're like, you accepted the role of Island Dr. Moreau?
So has he been getting divorced for the last 20 years then?
Yeah. Val Kilmer would show up late. He would not deliver the correct dialogue, and he bullied the cast and crew. And while watching this, like I even said to you, Nick, like there have to be things where he's like just doing his own, like when he has the flower in his mouth and he's just watching, like that was a Kilmer thing. Yeah. That was him like, I know what I'll do. But the studio, New Line, was blaming Stanley for not getting Kilmer under control.
Heavy's the hat that wears the crown.
They fired the director. They fired Stanley via fax.
Try getting Val Kilmer under control.
Yeah,
seriously.
Right? Well, I saw something, maybe it was Stanley, maybe it was somebody else, but they said, like, they could have handled Kilmer, but the studio just said yes to every demand Kilmer had.
Wow.
And so no one would say no to him.
Did you say the director was fired by fax?
They sent him a fax.
That's among the most 90s things I've ever heard.
Right, yeah. He got his beeper told him that he had a fax. Yeah, he checked that.
Yep.
In the process, he was so distraught, he let his Tamagotchi die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, Marty McFly got fired in a similar way.
That's
Back
true.
to the Future Part 2.
Via fax, yeah.
Can I just interject? You were talking about how he really wanted to do this project and got Brando on board.
Yeah.
With his heritage and his nostalgia.
Yeah.
Did you find anything about, because when I was reading up on this, I saw that was one of his aces in the hole.
Yeah.
But he had another ace up his sleeve. It was witchcraft.
Oh, that's right. I did read an article about that. Yeah, that Stanley...
He engaged the services of an English warlock called Skip.
Yeah.
Who convened his coven, cut his arm, and drew a magical sigil as Stanley was on his way to Brando's house in order to bind Brando and Stanley together for the project.
Wow.
So,
yeah. I forgot all about that. Yeah. I read that last night. Yeah. And then he
That's
also...
actually more interesting than the film, The Island of Doctor Moreau.
It's just crazy,
Stanley's involvement in this whole project seemed kind of... You could make a movie out of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So after Stanley was fired, he got rid of a bunch of documents. He, shredded a bunch of documents, and then he literally disappeared.
Wow.
Not magic. Not like he teleported, but he was not where he was supposed to be. He went off the grid.
They should have consulted with Skip the Warlock to see if he could be found.
Yeah. So New Line Cinema, they brought on John Frankenheimer as director. Are you familiar with this guy, Nick?
No.
Frankenheimer is a real, legit legacy director. He did Birdman of Alcatraz. He did original Manchurian Candidate.
Oh.
He did The Iceman Cometh. His last films were Ronin, a hardcore career director.
Yep.
He kind of had a reputation of being able to deal with difficult actors. So they're like, let's bring him in and he'll fix it. Frankenheimer brought on David Lewis because around the same time Stanley was fired. That's when Rob Morrow was just crying. It's like, it's hot! Yep. Nothing makes sense! Val Kilmer's eating flowers! And so, he brought in David Lewis and he rewrote the script along with Brando and Ron Hutcherson. There was a script that was written by 4 people. And now he's rewriting it with Brando's input.
Oh, good.
And at this point, I mean, Brando's reputation for being impossible to work with goes back to right after On the Waterfront, basically. Yeah. Brando, yes, he was his famously difficult self. He was showing up late. He was refusing to learn his lines. Instead, he had a radio receiver in his ear, and his lines were fed to him live on the set.
I read that too.
Where he's giving his lines, and then all of a sudden he just says,
"There's a robbery at Woolworths."
Yeah, because he'd pick up police radio as well. Crazy, and people just paid people money to be like this.
Yep.
I don't get it.
I didn't want to read his lines, and it was kind of pointless to rehearse the script because that rewriting he did with Brando was literally every day they would meet in his trailer. And would just spew out crazy ideas, a lot of which made it into the movie.
The Brando wearing all the white makeup, and the hat and everything, that was a Brando thing. As was his
bucket on his head.
The ice bucket on his head was his thing. Brando refusing to learn his lines goes way back to early his career. He likes to states that it was a thing. People use cue cards and it gave him the element of the now reading it. But it's maybe he just couldn't read his lines.
Right.
Val Kilmer and Brando seem to also be in competition with each other's egos. Sometimes they would not leave their trailers until the other one left their trailer first. So you've got this.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you got a legacy problem actor working with this new red hot
up and coming problem actor.
Yeah.
I feel like were they only in one scene together in this movie?
Maybe one or two.
There was one scene where I think Val Kilmer, one of them was sitting down and the other was there, and it was clear that they were in the same room. And I feel like that was the only time that I could be sure that both of them were actually there together.
Well, apparently, a lot of the early footage with Val Kilmer when he was being directed by Stanley is just unusable.
Oh.
I just don't... It's almost kind of amazing that there is a beginning and an end to this film with Val Kilmer in it, with the way he acted. All of this was happening. All this Brando and Kilmer stuff was happening with them just sitting in their air-conditioned trailers while the crew was left waiting, and the actors, all the extras, were in their prosthetics and animal makeup in the tropical heat, just sitting there and playing chess and waiting. And meanwhile, Brando's in his trailer with an air conditioning. Anyway.
It's like they're also drinking and getting high.
Yeah, right?
Animal costumes.
I said Stanley disappeared. When the previous director was fired, he was supposed to get on a plane and go back to Hollywood, but he never arrived at the destination. He had exiled himself in the Australian location they were filming, and he basically had to fight an emotional breakdown. So while in the Cairns region, he ran into the former staff of the film, who were now working as extras on the film. They snuck, this is even crazier. They snuck Stanley onto the set, dressed him up in full costume as one of the dogmen, and he performed in the film's finale, which is where basically he could watch the set burn. He said, yeah, it was just great. He's just there watching it all. He's watching the animal behavioralist direct people because Frankenheimer is busy with Val Kilmer and Brando, so the animal behavioralist is trying to direct all the extras, but the animal behavioralist is in the makeup as well, and he can't make the words sound right, so nobody's listening. Stanley's just in full makeup, just watching this incognito, and he says this whole process was cathartic, and he went on to say, but I did find it reassuring and psychologically helpful in the long term. It made me realize the situation was even more shambolic without me. After what was supposed to be a 6-week shoot that became a 6-month shoot, the film was finally released August 23rd, 1996, which is like the dead zone for movies. You don't want to release a movie in August. Frankenheimer refused to talk about the film later on in life, saying he only experienced misery during the process. Me too. He was so fed up with Kilmer that when they finished Val Kilmer's last scene, Frankenheimer is reported to have said to the crew, "Now get that bastard off my set." And some say they heard him saying, "Even if I was directing a film called The Life of Val Kilmer, I wouldn't have that prick in it." Mm-hmm. So Frankenheimer, it's one of those things like, let me buy you a drink, Frankenheimer. It's reported that Kilmer apologized to Stanley at the rap party, so I guess cool?
Yeah. All's well.
I guess we're cool, man.
Yeah.
All is forgiven.
I want to watch a movie about Stanley working on this. I mean, did you see all the stuff, the bad omens that mounted up while Stanley was trying to get this together? So he became, he started getting paranoid and stuff and confined himself to his home. Mm-hmm. And then there was a hurricane, and he called his agent during a rainstorm with his ship's radio trying to get off this flaming picture. A lot of things happened in a row there. His personal assistant was bitten by a venomous spider while turning on a lamp, and his warlock that had done the blood magic to get him this movie was hospitalized with a bone disease and then infected with a flesh-eating parasite.
Huh.
His mother's house was struck by lightning 3 times.
Uh-huh. You know what that is? That's Full Metal Alchemist equivalent exchange thing. They made this movie happen, and so now that guy got a flesh-eating virus.
And then I think just something snowballed here and people just smoked something because neighbors reported seeing the spectral form of a hyena prowling the surrounding countryside.
Hey, you kind of saw that too last night on their TV, Nick.
Yeah.
So much of this information that I just shared comes from, there's a documentary on this. You said it would make a good movie. You can watch it. It's called Lost Soul, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley, Island of Dr. Moreau. There's a full documentary on this.
I actually do want to watch that.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it before this, but you'll like this. The DVD of the film has an extra 4 minutes
Oh my gosh.
Of this movie.
That's at the point we were at, I didn't think I was going to make it to the end. So if there were 4 more minutes, no.
I watched the director's cut or
the one with the 4 minutes. All right.
Apparently a lot of it is the brutal ending of The Good Doctor.
Oh.
Apparently it's more brutal. I don't remember what it was like.
I think we watched whatever one was free on Vudu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't 4 minutes of dismemberment or anything, so I don't know what else was new.
Yeah, right. Richard Stanley, who started this whole process and then was fired, he is possibly in the process of getting together to direct a new movie of the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh boy.
Did he learn nothing from this? Is
he
he incapable of learning?
I'm unfamiliar with all his other work, but he just did the 2019 The Color Out of Space. Is
that a Nick Cage movie?
It's a Nick Cage movie based on H.P. Lovecraft's film that's gotten pretty decent reviews for being weird, but in a good way, but just also like very trippy and weird.
Yeah.
So
well, Nick Cage is in it, so of course.
Yeah, they said Stanley was somehow able to get like control the weirdness of it. Nick,
I think he got some good reviews for like Hardware and Dust Devil.
Yeah, his earlier films. Yeah, we didn't talk about normally before we say our 3 nice things, we have to say how we actually feel about the movie in general.
Oh, okay.
Whether or not we liked it or not.
I hated it.
Nick, you hated it.
It's a terrible experience.
One of your worst experiences.
I don't want to ever watch it again.
There were scenes that were happening on the movie. You're like, I don't like this.
Yeah, yeah. I actually did find it upsetting.
Yeah.
So
more upsetting than Son of the Mask, because when we did Son of the Mask, Ben
that's a hard one. That's a hard one. He found
that generally upset. I suppose it's a different upset.
It is a different kind, but it is. Yeah, I think it's a terrible movie.
Yeah,
I really struggled to come up with 3 nice things because I don't feel like there's any redeeming qualities in this movie. I really don't. So,
Marius, what about you on this second viewing?
So I remember thinking it was weird and liking it from a little over 20 years ago. So I think, now being a more reflected adult, I was able to read into the nuances of animal people. And it was weird.
Yeah.
So I still liked it.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wowzer. Okay.
Probably the odd one out here, but I think it's got a really undeserved bad rap.
All right.
Really?
I cannot say it's a good movie, but I was fascinated by what I was watching on the screen. Not like
I did not have that experience.
I couldn't take my there have been like Battlefield Earth felt like I felt every second of that movie.
True.
But this one I'm like weird. Like
leverage.
Yeah. But with this movie, I've just kind of like watched it fascinated. And that's enough of that. We need to say our 3 nice things. Marius, you've seen this movie more than us.
Yes.
And you said you like it. What's your first nice thing about this movie?
I struggled a bit in the beginning. Then I suddenly had more things than 3. So
oh boy.
I
love to hear that.
Actually, I don't actually, because some of them are cop outs.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick's giving me the cut the mics. I guess we have to go to commercial.
But I was watching. I was like, I'm gonna have to reach here, so I start looking for anything. But I'll just lead with like a few things that didn't actually make the cut as proper nice things. I think is the pun references in the beginning, because I thought there'd be more of them that would be good. Like when he asks Val Kilmer, "Are you like a doctor?" and he's like, "I'm more like a vet." And then you see sexy dancing Fairuza Balk, and she's like, "She's beautiful," and Kilmer goes, "She's a pussycat," and I'm like, "Oh boy, is this the level of cheese?"
Wow, you're right.
The
cheesy,
but they didn't really
foreshadowing.
follow through on that as much. So
yeah.
But it was like hints. What I did like also at first was when he was in the cabin exploring while Kilmer told him to wait there. He's looking at stuff and you see things like he's got Nobel Prize on the wall. I'm Norwegian and we can read Swedish. It had actual Swedish in it, so it did reveal that he had received a prize for genetic manipulation.
Nice.
In genetic manipulation. I'm like, hey, there's a little bit of little teaser.
Right.
Yeah.
Reveal. But then I had to look it up to see how genuine it was, and I learned that was not an accurate representation of the Nobel Prize as awarded in 1989, I think it said in the movie, because they stopped using the art around 1965. I think, and since then the medicine Nobel Prizes only had like a relief of a gold coin, and first proper nice thing as is a cop out, but I like the set and costume design.
I considered that it had a look. I mean, you can't deny that that they were it was
on
consistent.
location. Yeah,
it's consistent, as it were. The set, everything, like the tropical setting, it works, and you get the colonialism vibes there, kind of.
Yeah,
and the costumes. Brando and his costumes.
Oh my word!
With his mini-me, his original mini-me. Nice thing in itself. That was one of Brando's brainwaves.
Yeah, that was one of Brando. Yeah,
it even had
the
mini piano.
It had the mini piano on top of the piano. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mike Myers has watched this movie.
that was Brando just spotting an extra, apparently.
Yeah, he just liked that extra.
This tiny man.
Crazy.
And he's like, didn't he actually refuse to shoot scenes without his mini-me on?
I think that's something.
I read that, yeah.
And I'm willing to believe that's accurate. But his costumes were like weirdly flamboyant.
Yeah. Do you think Val Kilmer was the one who's like, shirtless, please?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
At that point, yeah. Nick, did you get any flashbacks of the other movie that's set on a tropical location, Street Fighter?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Right. I'm afraid I didn't. No.
Yeah. There's something about bad movies set in like these tropical locations.
I guess so, yeah.
That's also just
You're
like
right.
It must be like the auteurs on these bad movies, like we must be on location.
They're probably like, well, if we're gonna do this movie, can it at least be in a pleasant place to film?
Yeah, and then everybody gets malaria.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's got to be somewhere hot with palm trees.
Yeah, it just needs to ruin everything. I liked. Oh, I shouldn't have said I liked. My first nice thing. I'm wearing my heart on the sleeve here, though. My first nice thing is the hyena. Okay. The character hyena.
All right.
He becomes like the main villain.
Right.
But there was something about his like mental and emotional journey that I followed.
Related to?
Not
felt connected to?
There was something about him. Even
are we in danger?
I don't think he earned the thing at the end where he's dying and he goes into the burning cabin and he yells "Father!"
Yeah.
But he was also kind of really sad in that scene.
He was, yeah.
And he seemed, whoever was playing hyena, with just his eyes under all that hyena makeup, was able to, I feel like, get through to you that he's dealing with some issues with when he's talking to Brando and he's like, we call you father, but we are not like you. And there's more pathos in this guy who's having to try to play Hyena Man than Academy Award winning Brando, who's just like, I made you smile, didn't I? It's like watching Brando, and even Lewis, who's like, I don't think that guy's ever had a dry underlip. His whole chin area is always so moist. It's so hard to look at.
I really think that he was terrible.
He would just be coming off of Dragonheart, I think. He's just his character in that is just so gross.
He's a very unusual looking guy, and it's just a very odd type. Yeah. So like, I think if they would have cast a very like straightforward, like square jawed
Bruce Willis,
I mean, just a regular kind of guy, it would have been a lot more. It would have worked a little better to have like normal guy and weird thing happening, but he just fit right in with the weirdness. Yeah, I thought, not in the way you want.
David Lewis says he even rewrote his character script wise as well. And like, I don't know,
anarchy on this set.
Yeah,
I gotta say I was impressed because when I started watching the movie. And as soon as he spoke at all, my wife identified him by his voice.
Oh yeah,
wow.
She's like, "Is that David Thewlis?" And I'm like, "Who?"
Yeah. He was weird looking in his young age.
Yeah.
I guess now he kind of owns it.
Yeah, he does.
I didn't know
as
him.
in Wonder
She's
Woman or Harry Potter.
So
yeah,
she knew him from Harry Potter, and I'm like, oh, from the long ass Harry Potter movie that I watched half of. And, no,
I did have a moment where I realized Val Kilmer was Batman, Marlon Brando was Jor-El from Superman, and David Thewlis was Ares in Wonder Woman. So they're all like, DC
it was a
characters.
DC thing. Yeah, I thought Hyena Man and the actor playing him did a better job than all these other high-paid actors and under that makeup. So Hyena is my first nice thing.
Hyena. I thought for the longest time, because I knew that Ron Perlman was in this movie.
You thought he was Hyena?
I thought like, he's going to be Hyena dude.
No,
but then you see
he's the priest.
You see the law speaker.
They all look a little like Ron Perlman.
Yeah, they all have a Ron Perlman vibe about them.
It's like Hyena Man seemed like the kind of thing that Perlman would do, you know? Just go nuts. But then you see him with horns on his head looking like Ron Perlman.
Right.
Yeah. That's...
The other guy that's in this, other DC relation, though, is the actor who plays Jango Fett and also plays Aquaman's dad.
Oh, right. Tamira Morrison.
Morrison is also in this,
That's right.
Ron Perlman ever be in a DC movie? Has he been in one? He's been Hellboy. He was in Blade. Nothing.
Well, he voices Slade in Teen Titans.
Yeah, all right.
So,
okay.
That's close.
All right, so that's my first nice thing. Nick, what's your first nice thing?
This one may surprise you, and I say it with I have some reservations, but I'm going to say Brando. Not because I think he gives a good performance, but I think that he is very consistent with the things that he's doing. I don't think you can accuse him of strictly just phoning it in.
That's true.
I think that he had in his mind what this guy was about and like how this guy would react to things, and I think he is a through line throughout. I don't think you ever have a time where he's doing nothing. So,
it's true. It's not
love
like,
it or hate it, and I hate it. Brando did that thing.
Yeah, it's not like
he played
one
a character.
Scene, he's doing one thing that doesn't track with scene 7,
which I would accuse Val Kilmer of doing.
Val Kilmer,
you can't find any. You can't find any through line with Montgomery in that.
Yeah,
but
he's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just, because they say at the end, like, he's gone insane. I'm like, he's gone insane?
Right, yeah.
Because, like, there's a scene where he's, like, giving them their pills, and he's, like, kissing them all.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be, like, this guy in charge. But at one point, he's also, like, drunk, just wandering around. Is Kilmer listening to
I have
Brando's character?
I don't think so.
Bizarre. No. I don't get Brando in general.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I get that he's a good actor, but I don't get how any of his performances are worth how he is on set. Like, it just seems like, I'm sure you could get another good performance out of somebody, and On the Waterfront. Is it worth dealing with Brando's? And same thing with,
it's a weird line you're taking now.
I just, like, when watching this and knowing that, like, they were like, oh, guess what? We got Brando for this. In 96, I'd be like, so? Get somebody else. I just don't, I don't understand Brando. And, like, I don't understand why anyone would want to work with Brando and Kilmer when they know what problems they are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's, like, box office return, but this movie bombed, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was memorable in it.
Yeah,
that's true. That is true.
All right, that was your first nice thing.
Yes.
Brando.
Yeah.
Marius, what's your second nice thing?
All right, well, I actually I took a tiny note on this. I wrote that about Val Kilmer's impressions of Brando.
Oh, my word.
That was my second nice thing. That was my second nice
fantastic.
thing. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's actually not a bad impression. And then,
do you think he did it because him and Brando were, like, always butting heads? He's like, oh, I've got a Brando impression for you, big man. And he just goes there.
Guaranteed.
Because it's like a parody impression at times, too.
I guarantee it. He did that because of the tension between them, all the conflict. And, I mean, it comes at a point in the movie shortly after Brando's character has been
killed, and so he's not there on the set anymore.
And he literally kind of steps in and takes
over the role
in the movie, and perhaps also, you know, in Val Kilmer's head, in reality.
Yeah, Kilmer's like, I'm Brando now.
Really hamming it up. I don't even know if the impression was scripted to be that extreme,
right?
You know, and that satirical, such a parody.
He's in the costume, too. He's in the white costume, you know.
Yeah. You have to wonder.
For all I know, he just found something and walked on set like that, because
I know.
Like
you have to wonder with the way the actors were and everything, if, like, has Brando even seen this movie?
No.
Did he even see Kilmer's impression of him? Because
I wouldn't be surprised if he had.
It's funny because I remember listening to somewhere during League of Extraordinary Gentlemen that Sean Connery, like, has it in his contract that he won't be impersonated in movies, and that when Maria Harkin does an impression of Sean Connery in that movie, they had to, like, get his approval to do that scene. And I wonder, like, if Brando had seen these, like, put that in my contract now.
Yeah, could be.
There are several scenes kind of where you can see the production troubles really show in the way they act, but that point in the movie just really, that's where things go crazy.
Yep.
Comparatively, I guess, because it's always a little bit crazy, and you can really, Val Kilmer just takes it up a notch and just goes bonkers. You can tell he was.
I don't remember the book.
How he was on set from
you can,
right?
You can.
And then sitting in that chair, his feet up.
And then he has a Mardi Gras rave with the Beast people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, like some kind of crazy animal person orgy.
Like the cave rave in that Matrix movie.
Yeah, that's what I said, Nick. You said Matrix Reloaded. Eat your heart out.
He did say it.
This movie did that first. There's Kilmer just throwing drugs out to all these animal men, and then you cut back, and they're definitely all doing it around Kilmer, who's continuing to do his animal and his Brando impression. Yep. I have to wonder, though, because I can't remember the book so well, but, like, Moreau dies maybe halfway through, or at least a third of the film, and then they kill Montgomery very quickly. You have to wonder if they're like, all right, and then Kilmer's character dies too, to get him out of there. You know?
Yeah, could be.
It sounds reasonable.
My second nice thing is this film has weirdly given me philosophical things to think about. My second nice thing. So it was the line specifically with the hyena. So this kind of plays on how I like when Hyena's talking to Moreau, and Moreau's talking about how there's law. He's like, is there still law and everything? And Moreau's like, of course there's law. And then Hyena shows that he took out the device and he can't do that. And he says, if there's no pain, is there no law? And I just kind of thought about that. I'm like, if there's no pain, there's no law. And then, like, today I was driving around. I just kept thinking about that. I'm like, without pain, there's no law. and then we're all hedonists. But then hedonism has everybody doing everything they want, so then you get pure anarchy, which then creates pain because everybody's subjugating everybody else for their hedonism, and then you're right back to the start. We're all animals again. Wow. And yeah, I thought his delivery of that line too was more interesting. Like, if there's no pain, is there no law? And then later on, at the end with David Lewis, like there must be God number one and everything. I'm like, you know what? This movie's bad, but there are some lines in here that would land much better in a better movie.
Well, aren't those just coming from the book though?
Probably, yeah. So, yeah. Well, then, congratulations, H.G. Wells.
Yeah. H.G. Wells has done it again.
It's got its good points. And that's probably from the book because they probably managed to wrangle the movie into something that'll make you think philosophical thought.
And then Rob Perlman at the end, because Rob Perlman's character is like this priest, and they talk about Moreau being like God. And so he talks about him being the father and everything. And he delivers the law, Ron Perlman's character. And he says, walk on 2 legs. Don't walk on 4 legs. That's bad. Don't kill to eat. That's bad. And at the end, when Lewis is leaving the island, he's like, I can bring people. He's like, don't do it. He's like, walking on 2 legs might be good, but it is hard. And I was like, wow, there's some real pathos in these animal people just trying to accept this stuff. I mean, that might have been from the book too, that whole walking on 2 legs is hard thing. So the animal people, I had sympathy with them in their delivery. Okay. So that was my second nice thing.
Well, my second nice thing was the Brando impression because I thought that was genuinely funny.
All right.
So I'm going to cheat.
Oh.
I'm going to cheat and tell you something that made me laugh the most, but I wasn't supposed to laugh.
It's not a nice thing. Okay.
It was in the same scene. Val Kilmer's in the chair, and they're fighting over he needs the serum. And they just scream at each other. They're just like, I need the serum! You can't have the serum! I need the serum!
Yeah.
And it was like, it was so funny.
It just kept happening,
but it was meant to be like serious intention. So I wasn't going to count that as a nice thing, but since Marius took mine, that's the one you get.
Because Kilmer's like drunk at the time or high?
Yeah, he's drunk.
He's
but they just full out scream back and forth at each other, and it killed me. So it's my quasi nice thing.
All right, Marius, what's your last nice thing?
Kind of playing off your nice thing there. That it kind of makes me read the book because the story must be good.
Yeah. I mean, it is upsetting.
In the movie.
Yeah, it is upsetting.
Yeah. Even the book that's
late 1800s.
Yeah, late 1800s. See, I don't know anything.
So this movie actually was made 100 years after the book was originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, the book
had him. He was shipwrecked, and that's how you did things in the 1800s when you wanted to put a guy somewhere. You shipwrecked,
right?
Yeah.
So this has a contemporary twist, and I think it did an okay job of. I guess the original script is responsible for that. That because the original book dealt with vivisection as a theme.
That was his thing.
Yeah.
In 1996, they're going to throw genetic manipulation.
Right. Yeah. Especially coming after the sci-fi films of the late 80s and Jurassic Park had just been like genetics can do anything.
But then they do little changes. Like I think. In the book, he was, or what I could find of summaries of the book, he was just defined as a man of education or something, a man of scientific knowledge.
Yeah.
But in the movie, they make him a United Nations peacekeeper, like negotiator, and that's
like Guile in Street Fighter.
Exactly.
He works for the UN.
Yeah. Perfect.
Guile for this, I don't know, but the fact that he's actively a peacekeeper really reflects the times. Like mid-90s, we've had a lot of war, Cold War. We got the Middle East, all kinds of things going on, and they play on that in the movie too. In the ending monologue, where they show footage from war zones and stuff, and he starts reflecting on man's bestial nature, and people really becoming the animals and such. Because the story in itself, I think, could be adapted to a lot of times.
It was adapted to other ethics. It was 2 movies before this, but I've never seen them. I don't think they have the reputation
and various
of this one.
other adaptations which took it in different directions. But there have been 2 movies that were directly the Island of Doctor Moreau. But you could adapt this to. It focuses on ethics, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
religion is a big thing there because they declare themselves to be God and stuff. And you could bring in things about colonialism, racism, all kinds of
because I mean, if you distill it down, you're really just asking the question, like, what happens when man goes too far? Whatever the situation, that's really the core of it. What happens?
How much of an animal is man anyway?
Right. And so I think it is a story that could be told again and again and again, but not by these people.
Richard Stanley's trying again.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he does a better job and gets better people with it. But I thought it was not a terrible adaptation because it explores a lot of philosophical issues, like all those, like ethics, colonialism, racism, religion, warfare, man's potential for violence, capacity for evil, lust for power, all that jazz, all the big words and big concepts. And like you went like with is there law without pain, like crime and punishment, structure, the rules of a society. You got a lot of stuff to unpack there that they actually, I mean, it came through despite all the nonsense that happened during the production of the movie and stuff, and how it's kind of a weird...
Nick's screaming into his arm right now.
There's some disjointed random train wreckness about the movie, but I the story itself is strong enough. Clearly,
my last third nice thing.
Only you can tell us.
Well, because I've already said nice things about the extras in both their deliveries and the Hyena Man. But I mean, like I guess a nice thing I'm saying that isn't my nice thing is that the makeup isn't as bad as I was expecting it to be.
That's true.
There's the scene where you see that cheetah leopard character like running and it's CGI. That looks horrendous. But Stan Winston and his Creature Studios, they did the effects, and like I was before we watched this, like, oh wait, there's gonna be like Animal Men in 1996 technology. What is this gonna look like? I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, and it
looked better than the movie Cats.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought too. Like,
I think the practical effects nature of a lot of it, good parts, the costuming. Because I was looking at that Cheetah Man, and I'm like, this doesn't look too bad. It looks,
it's true.
And the extras, I think, should just get like all the credit in the world from getting through this because like they're acting and all that, and like Ron Perlman and Cheetah are delivering lines better than the people not in masks that are like in. It's just crazy.
It sounds like they would have had a better time on the actual Island of Doctor Moreau than on the set of this movie.
I guess my third nice thing is the scene. You've guys talked about it with the impressions that Kilmer's doing, and the elevator's lowering down, and all the beast creatures are like freaking out and everything. They're playing that song by Salt. It was so 90s grunge that almost made me think of like The Crow in some ways.
Stupid.
And I was just like, you know what? If the movie had been like this bizarro this whole time with like more 90s grunge and everything, that scene just kind of struck me as like it was shot in such a weird way. That music was weird. The animals were going crazy. Kilmer's doing whatever the crap he's doing with his Brando impression. That scene kind of got me.
Okay.
I wasn't too impressed with like the general soundtrack. Usually, like these bad movies, I want to like give it up to the person doing the score. But in general, I wasn't too impressed with the score.
No, I barely
was more
registered.
into the music when 90s grunge band Salt was on screen.
Intro to this movie, the opening credits.
That almost gave Nick a seizure.
It was. I couldn't look at it. It was
over dramatic and awful.
It's so fast. It's too fast.
That might actually be the worst part of this movie.
The intro.
It was so bad.
I guess that opening music was like kind of interesting. But everything on screen is just like
too fast.
Kind of ham-fisted though.
Epileptic.
It was
because like movies later on would start doing this. Like you watch like Ang Lee's Hulk. It does like the exact same kind of like effects and showing the same things. But that's a little bit more fluid though. Yeah. The images on this were just like bam, 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 bam. It was not good. It was epileptic. It was insane.
You couldn't look. I mean, you couldn't focus on anything.
It hurts to look. Yeah.
But it also wasn't just like a wash. It was like hard.
Goodness, yeah.
I like it.
All right. What's your last nice thing?
Well, there was one character in this that I actually liked.
Oh.
There was one character that I was interested in. He didn't get a lot of screen time, but it was he was like the baboon guy, the five-fingered man. They made a big deal about.
Yeah, he just disappears.
Assassimon, I think was his name.
Yeah.
And when they're first trying to like hide out in the beginning and they run in and he finds them and she's like, no, he's a five-finger man like you, and they like touch hands and have this nice moment.
Yeah.
And then you don't really see him again until the very, very end, when they're having this whole philosophical conversation where, what's his name?
God's flesh.
Edward Douglas is like, I can fix you. I can put this back. And they're like,
no, thank you. Yeah.
No, we're good. But I thought that he was really interesting to me.
He just disappeared.
He did.
It's like he must have been in like one form of the script and then written out. Feels like.
I know, but both times that he was there, I thought he was adding a layer because you didn't really see any of the like creatures who seem to have like a balance.
Yeah.
And he kind of he was just interesting to me. So I liked Peter Elliott, the actor who played him. Yeah. I liked that.
Yeah.
That was it. The only character I liked.
Yeah. Cool.
We did it.
I kind of forgot about Five Finger Man.
Yeah.
Because he just disappeared. He's got that
Well, that's the thing about this movie, because clearly that was meant to be a thing, and then it just wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, but then you have him at the wrap in the end, so it feels like... Yeah. It almost felt like there were meant to be two factions going on, like Hyena Man and his like evil ways, and Assassin with his more let's figure this out kind of way. But that was just dropped, is what it seems like.
Do you want to see the sequel to see what happens to all the animals after they left?
No.
Those are our 3 nice things. We've got some nice things from Twitter as well. Rezonart said we asked to say one nice thing. Usually we just say one nice thing. Sometimes people go the distance and do 3 nice things. So on Twitter, which you can find us at Nice Things Pod, Rezonart said it literally has 1990s Fairuza Balk.
Yes.
Who I wasn't too impressed with her in this one, but that's probably the character. I think before this was known for The Craft, which had more witchcraft in it. And then after...
Return to Oz, right?
Return to Oz is
that's
where
I would know her from.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic.
And then after this, she went on to be the love interest in Waterboy with Adam Sandler. And American History X played Ed Norton's like ex-girlfriend neo-Nazi. Yeah, actually, apparently during all the craziness, Fairuza Balk like was also fed up. And so she drove like 2,500 kilometers away, and her agent is like, look, if you leave, the studio will ruin you and you'll never work again. So she drove back.
Wow.
Actually, she didn't drive. She rented a limo and drove that far away. Resonant also said it also has Ron Perlman, and I love The Boar Man. Moreau was a big movie for 11-year-old me. I cannot imagine watching and understanding this movie at 11 in the 90s.
That's gonna leave scars. I
was trying to think, like, would I have liked this as a kid? No, it would have disturbed me. Yeah, I can't imagine, like, if you're 11 and you just watch this movie, you're like, is this what movies are?
Yeah.
Is this what I'm watching for the rest
of real?
Yeah. All right. Also from Twitter, Nightcrest Comics says, 1, Ron Perlman. People like Ron Perlman.
You know, I got a question about that because Ron Perlman in this left like no impact on me. I felt like he was more like just a glorified extra. Like he didn't do much.
I actually think it was kind of a it's a lot different than what we expect from Ron Perlman because he's a lot more subdued and more emotional in his stuff. Whereas I usually think of him as like the kind of either a jerk character or a tougher guy.
Sure.
So I think people just like Ron Perlman. Wonderful costume design. And 3, Beastmen. Beastmen.
Sure.
So that was a Nightcrest comic from Twitter. All right, Nick.
Yes.
I know the answer. Okay. Are you ever going to watch this movie again?
I can tell you, Eric, with the utmost certainty that I will not.
Okay, I bought you the Blu-ray.
Will not accept.
This movie broke Nick in such a way that afterwards, as a chaser to cleanse his palate from this movie, he put on the 4th Transformers film.
I've never seen it.
Age of Extinction. And not only did he do that, you rented it. You paid money for Age of Extinction. But you paid the $2.99 for the standard definition version.
It was cheaper.
Instead of the HD version. And then I left you and you just turned it on and I was like, all right, bye. You're like, see ya.
Yeah.
And that was it. You just watched the 3. That movie is almost 3 hours.
Well, I watched about an hour last night, and then I watched it in 2 settings today. Right. So for me, it was like a 3-part miniseries.
But that was so basically, Island of Doctor Moreau was so bad for Nick, he had to watch one of the later Transformer films.
I'd never seen it.
Well,
and we just podcasted on the All the Book Show about Marky Mark and Spencer Confidential.
That's true. Yeah. You know. All right. So you're never gonna watch this movie again. It's not even one that you're gonna show somebody.
No, but I'll watch Transformers 5. I like the first Transformers movie pretty well.
Yeah, I like the first one too. Marius, what about you? This is only the second time you've ever watched it. Now that you've watched it as much later in life, as you said, a wiser man, are you going to rewatch this film ever?
Entirely possible, yeah.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
Listen.
Okay.
This is one of those movies that if somebody hadn't seen it and was willing to watch, I would be like, I can't describe this movie to you, so you have to watch it. I wouldn't watch this by myself. I'm never turning this on by myself, but this is a movie that, like, is so weird. And like I said, it left me fascinated that, like, I could see me showing this to someone so they could also understand just how bizarre this is. And then I want to watch that documentary. Well, that is as nice as we're going to be on this episode.
Too nice.
Too nice, according to Nick. Marius, where can people find you?
They can find me, well, I'm trying to get back into streaming.
On Twitch.
Which I do on Twitch at twitch.tv/Ensville_games.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find me on Twitter as at Ensville Games and no underscore.
No underscore on Twitter,
and these days, I'm also doing a thing with that there Resonart fellow over at twitch.tv/YouGotNext.
All right.
Co-op things.
Nick, where can people find you? Two podcasts.
I host a couple of podcasts. Yeah. Eric and I every week host the All the Books show for the David A. Howe Public Library. So you can find that soundcloud.com/allthebooks or anywhere you get your podcasts. Yep. And then Kendra Mickles and I host 902 and Here We Go. You can also find that anywhere you like.
Yeah. Quick question.
Yes.
Anybody from 90210 ever going to be on this? Like, are we ever going to do a movie with somebody from 90210?
It's possible.
Is Jenny Garth in not Jenny Garth.
Shannon Doherty's done some weird stuff. You could probably pick one of those movies. Sure.
All right. What's Brendan? David Priestley?
Jason Priestley doesn't do a lot of movie work.
Okay. So maybe.
I'll be back if you do.
All right. I'm duskvstweak everywhere online, and apart from other shows on the Radio Meanwhile Network, like Nick said, I'm the co-host of the All the Books show. Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. Join us in upcoming episodes as we say more nice things about bad movies. Nick, I know, like I said, Battleship. I'll do it. You're going to be on Battleship someday.
Battleship won't be upsetting.
That's true.
It'll just be bad.
Dumb.
And I can handle that.
Yeah. You won't see a horsewoman
giving birth.
Giving birth.
I won't. I hope I won't.
Fully nude. We saw everything.
We did.
It was full frontal nudity of this horsewoman.
Though I have heard that Liam Neeson never says, "You sunk my battleship."
No one says it.
And I just gotta say, why do you make a Battleship movie if no one says it?
Why do you put Rihanna in the Battleship movie if she doesn't do a song about Battleship?
Why did they make a Battleship movie?
That's the best question of all,
actually. Yeah. Again, you can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com, and you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at Nice Things Pod. Please rate, subscribe, and share the show on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. See you next episode.
3 nice